Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today we have for you a Black Library review and we're going to be looking at the End of Enlightenment by Richard Strachan. Let's get into the review. So let's set the scene for the novel. Pretty much the general feel of this story is it is taking part during the Broken Realms Teclis novel. It is taking part in sort of the stage 2 where death is striking back at Teclis and the Realm of Life as Teclis has gone and fought Nagash and sort of launched his strikes against him. We read a little bit about that at the start of the book as it sets the scene for what is to come in the rest of the book. The book is primarily about the Ossiarch Bonereapers launching their attacks back against Teclis and the Lumineth Realm Lords in Hysh, and so it's the Lords of Death coming into Hysh and attacking the Lumineth Realm Lords. And in particular, in this time, they're attacking the Lumineth Realm Lords on a mountain. So obviously, we're going to see some of the Lumineth Cowmen, the Alarith, the Mountain Men of the Lumineth, and it's going to be some Ossiarch Bonereapers, the Staliarch Lords, versus the Ymetrican Lumineth Realm Lords, Alarith. With that said though, a major part of the book, of course, is the whole overarching war, but the story we end up focusing on is built around a stone mage known as Ygethin, and he is sort of at odds with how to defeat these Lumineth Realm Lords. He's lost his sister recently in battle, and it happens to be that somehow his sister's soul has been forced into an Ossiarch Bonereaper's Lord's, I guess their soul compendium, or whatever you want to call it, the amalgamation of souls that makes up these Ossiarch Bonereaper Lords. His sister's soul has been bound in there, and this Lumineth soul now connects to the Stone Mage, and that is really sort of the driving part that these two characters feel connected and have these deep connections to each other that they want to both save and destroy each other in the same equal measure. This is also a great story for just showing the parts of the Ossiarch Bonereapers like we've never seen them before. We've never seen Ossiarch Bonereapers in as in-depth as we're seeing them here, and that's a great part of the book. So, categorization for this novel is pretty simple. This is a war story. Like we've added out, there's not really an awful lot of adventure in the story. It focuses heavily on battlefield and tactics, and it is a really good sort of, I guess, for lack of a better term, bolter porn style book. It does a really good job of showing the battle, showing you the tactics of the two armies, going backwards and forwards, showing the ebb and flow of battle. And it's not quite as straightforward as, shoot this, move on, shoot that, move on. It does show you both armies winning, both armies losing at times, all throughout the book. That really keeps you guessing how everything's going to turn out. It's a great sort of war story. So the book's purpose, well, while it does give us a great look at Ossiarch Bonereapers like we haven't seen them before, as I've just mentioned, a major part of this book is showing us how the effects of the Broken Realms Teclis, especially more than any of the other Broken Realms story, affects Hysh, and really is drawing out the Lumineth out of their sort of self-imposed exile from the rest of the realm and showing them that Hysh actually is a part of the mortal realms and can be affected by what happens in other realms. The whole story here, and we get some good revelations throughout different parts of the story in how Hysh is part of the realms. The Lumineth have to take part in this bigger picture. They realize that there's more to their lives, and that they are affected by the realms total, all of them. Everything that every god does can affect the Lumineth, can affect their realm, and this is just a massive part of the story and really what it's trying to show us more than anything. It also gives a really good part of the purpose to showing us exactly how different parts of the Lumineth that maybe weren't explored as much in Realm Lords act. We get a stone mage in this that's really cool. We also get to see a scenario Cathalar, different parts of the Nari in the army as well. That just to get a good look at these different characters and see all these different parts of the Lumineth a little bit more in depth. The best part of the book, this might not be everyone's best part of the book, but I think it was a really well played out relationship that develops over the course of the story that you really just sort of see in the background a lot in the book, but it's just shown enough that it matters and you feel the relationship building. And this is between the Stone Mage Seneschal, the leader of the Stone Guard within the temple that around the mountain that we're sort of focusing on in the story, and the Steedmaster who sort of comes in this haughty hero called Belfinnan, And the two characters, they seem such at odds throughout the story, and the relationship that they get to build is really great between the two of them. It's one of those relationships where it's not front and center, it's not thrown in your face, but you really do feel the joy for it as it continues to grow and build and sort of change over time. It's a really fantastic little relationship that I felt is just sort of thrown in the book. It's really well thought out, and it's not just there, but it, you know, and you see the progression. It's not just little like quips at the back of like, oh, it gets better in this place, it gets better in this place. It builds, and you see why it builds, and all these little bits of like the sort of story that's not quite the focus, but just off focus, but you see it all still. And it's a really fun little story to follow, the relationship between these two characters. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the payoff for the relationship at the end as well. Least favourite part of the book? Honestly, nothing really. If I'm going to be really, really picky, maybe we might say that I'd like to have seen maybe the Cathalar explored a little bit more than what we got. Though she doesn't get enough screen time, so I don't really think that's even a thing. The book is really solid. It's another fantastic book by the author. I really enjoyed it, and I don't think there's anything that I really didn't enjoy within the whole story. So, the main character of the book is without a doubt the Stone Mage character, Gethin. This is the character you get to see on the front, Stone Mage front and centre there, and he's a really cool character. He's this brooding character who, as we've talked about at the start of the book, he's lost his sister. His sister's now embedded in this Ossiarch Bonereaper as part of one of the many souls that's fused together to create the monster. And he's got this deep sense of need to free her, to save her, and to want to just be able to bring her back in some way, or, you know, just release her from that prison that is the Ossiarch Bonereaper. And he goes through different phases and parts of this during the story. He's a really cool character, though. He was once a famous warrior, who then took upon the sort of pilgrim's path and became part of the Stone Temple and learned how to be a Stone Mage. It really sort of explores how Lumineth and elves in general are so long-lived that they can follow these many different paths during their life and sort of change their ways on how they act. And Lumineth are no different to that. They sort of focus on one thing, and when he became the best warrior he could, he's now gone to this Stone Mage, and he's now trying to be the best Stone Mage he can. So, what changes about the main character in the story? I think, well, primarily his main arc through the story is learning to deal with his grief. And we won't go into, like, sort of how he goes in to get that, because I want you to read the novel or listen to it in an audiobook or whatever and see this for yourself. But it's that overcoming of grief, that learning that, like, his sister is gone and how he now has to help her in a different way to save her soul. So that's a really interesting story, and the way he changes is like how he deals with this. He goes through different phases throughout different parts of the book and how he's dealing with it, and it does a really great part of showing you like these stages of grief and how he changes his sort of thoughts on all of it, and how he changes a character when he changes his thoughts on these particular things. Who would like this book? Well, I have mentioned a little bit that it does focus on the Ossiarch Bonereapers quite a bit. Maybe not quite enough to say their main character, but definitely enough to sort of give you a good idea of who they are and what they can be. This does a great look at just showing you Ossiarch Bonereapers and, of course, Lumineth Realm Lords. So I'd recommend this book to anyone who's a fan of these two armies. You'll get like a good look at your characters. You'll sort of learn a little bit more. Bonereapers will really surprise you in this book on just how they are and who they are. I think it's a really cool look at them, and maybe that's got something to do with Nagash's fall, who knows, but it's a really interesting sort of book for looking at these two different races that we really haven't had this sort of level of depth shown over a much broader spectrum. I mean, we've seen parts in like Realm Lords by Dale Lucas showing off some Lumineth Realm Lords, but mostly focusing on an adventure tale rather than this overarching sort of style of story that we get here. So this is definitely like a really cool look at these two particular factions. In summary though, this is a fantastic war story that shows the effects of broken realms across Hysh. This really does get a good look at the two different factions that we've already talked about, and it just gives you a really nice flowing war story that has ebb and flow to it, where neither army seems like they're on the top at any two parts, and for too long, both parts of the story, like both sides, really do feel like they can win, they can lose at nearly every part of it. It just shows all these different bits and pieces, and you really do feel, I guess, joy and some hate moments and all that sort of stuff. You get a lot of feeling from the book, which is great, and that's what you want. In summary, 8 out of 10. It's a really solid book. Richard is just knocking it out of the park with Age of Sigmar stories. Both this and Warcry Catacombs, Blood of the Everchosen, absolutely fantastic. If you haven't read that one, I've got a review up for that one on the channel as well, which I'll link at the end of the video. So go give that a watch as well, and go give it a listen or a read. They're fantastic stories. I'd love to hear, though, what you think of this story. Have you read it? Have you listened to it? What did you think of it? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? What do you think was the best parts? Let us know all your thoughts, your likes, your dislikes about the story in the comments below. Well, thank you all for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. While you're on YouTube as well, why not go check out my featured channel section where there's a bunch of other fantastic Warhammer Age of Sigmar content creators doing everything from battle reports, lore videos, painting videos, narrative games, tactical videos, and more besides that as well. And if you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our little community here at Sinful Gaming, you can do so by following the link in the description of the video to our Discord server. Lastly though, we'd like to give a shout out to everyone who helps support the channel via Patreon and YouTube members. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Thank you to our patrons, Christian Weir, James Soren, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Kenny Lowell, Outer and Shot First, James Crowder, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, Tim Newman, The Rising Ape, The Q Dynamic, Augustin Andreas, Lopez Diaz, and Anthony B. And thank you to our YouTube members, Green Roots Gaming, Firetine, Steve T, and The Real Zeop. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. If you'd like to help support the channel like they do and help us keep putting out Warhammer Age of Sigmar content and Warhammer content in general, please do go subscribe to Patreon or YouTube members in the description of the video below. Thank you all for watching. Stay safe everyone, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.